the skin layers. So if you will look at this, this is the basic part of the skin layers. And in the skin layers, if you look at this picture, you can see on the top, there is the epidermis, that is the outermost layer. And below epidermis, we have a long dermis, and dermis is the area where blood vessels start, they come into play, nerves, they come into play, lymphatics, they come into play, multiple glands that come into play. And epidermis also have a lot of a number of anatomical structures, anatomical classification. I will come to that. And below dermis, we have the hypodermis. So inside the dermis, you can see the hair follicle starts from dermis. There are various glands like Sowed glands, which is a crine type of gland that is present in the dermis. There is sebaceous gland that is present in dermis. So these are important structure of the dermis. We can also see some blood vessels, including the capillaries from the arterial side and the venous side. We can also see some nerves that is running through dermis basically. Now coming to the epidermis, if we just elongate or magnify the epidermis, we can see there are multiple layers. So from outside to inside, the layers must be remembered because they will ask you this. So we have stratum corneum, that is the most outside layer, and after that we do have the stratum lucidum, then stratum granulosum, and simultaneously you can see the looks of the cells are actually getting changed. Stratum granulosum, then we have the stratum spinosum, and stratum spinosum contains the cells called keratinocytes. And at the end, there we have the stratum basale. You can see the cells are becoming more and more globular as it passes from outside to inside. And after that, we can see the dermis has been started. All the pigments after stratum basale, all the pigments like suppose melanocytes and melanin depositing pigments, everything is present in the dermoepidermal junction. This is the dermoepidermal junction, and in fact they are present in the stratum basale, the deepest layer of the epidermis. That is the basic idea that you need to remember. One more important thing, this dermoepidermal junction that, as I have mentioned, this is also important for immunohistochemistry and immunophenotyping. We will come to that in upcoming slides. So these two pictures, you can take a snapshot and then we can move on to our today's topics. Okay, so we are going back to our today's topics. Okay. So in dermatology, initially in the general part of the dermatology, certain things we need to remember. So first of all, which is very important, is the types of lesion that I will be describing one after another. So there are certain types. So we are starting with the macules. Who are they? Always remember in part one, these names are extremely important. So who are macules? Macules are flat. That means they are just on the surface. They are not elevated. That's very important. And since they are not elevated, they are non-palpable. So macule is a lesion which is non-palpable. And what is the shape of the macule? It is might be roundish, it might be a little ovalish, but very important, macule is small. Macule is a small lesion, and macule is less than 10 millimeter, is millimeter in diameter. That's very important. So all the way you need to remember macule is non-palpable and macule is small. This two term is very important. Now, what we can get? Macule, can macule be large? Yes, if there is a large macule, they are also present. However, they have a different name, and large macule is known as patch. Large macule is known as patch. So patch will also be non-palpable, but patch will be more than 10 millimeter. So some lesions in psoriasis can be a patch. Okay. Now, next type of lesion, class of lesion, is the papule. So papule, who are they? Papule is palpable. Papule is palpable. So papule is elevated. So papule is elevated, but papule is small. That is also important. So papule is palpable, small, roundish or ovalish lesion. They are elevated from the surface, but they are small. That's why their diameter is less than 10 millimeter. Where we can get papule? We can get papular lesion in acne. We can get papular lesion in wart. We can get papular lesion in lichen planus, and we can get papular lesion in nevus. So these are the areas where we can get papular lesion. Now we are moving to further thing. So what is a plaque? We are coming to a plaque. What is a plaque? QUE. Just a moment. Yeah, QUE. It is a large papule. It's a large papule and it is more than 10 millimeter. So plaque is a large papule. So it is palpable, it is slightly above the surface and it is 10 millimeter, more than 10 millimeter. Where can we find? Yes, psoriasis. That's the very important and pathognomonic where we can find a plaque lesion. Now we are coming to the next group of lesion, that is the nodules. Who are they? Nodules are basically farm papules. That means their texture is slightly firmer than papule and they are elevated from the surface. But remember, nodule involves deeper structure than papule. So they are elevated plus they involve deeper structure. They involve deeper structure into the skin or into the epidermis. Okay. Where do we find nodules? We can find nodules in case of fibroma. We can find nodules in case of cyst. We can find nodules in case of lipoma. So a lot of surrounding tissues are involved in case of nodule. We can palpate them also. Next group of lesion is vesicles. And we all know, we have all seen vesicles. Basically, vesicles are filled up with clear fluid. So vesicles are the lesion which is filled up with clear fluid. But again, vesicles are small and any small thing is less than 10 millimeter or 1 centimeter in standard dermatological description. Where can we find vesicle? We can find vesicle in many places. Chicken pox, there we can find vesicle. Herpes, we can find vesicle. Acute allergic contact dermatitis, we can find vesicle. Okay. Then, do we have a bigger brother of vesicle? Yes, we have, and they are known as bullae. So bullae is also filled with clear color fluid, but they're actually big vesicle. Bulla means big vesicle. Okay, and they are more than 10 millimeter in diameter. Where we can find bulla? That's very common. Bullous pemphigoid, pemphigus vulgaris, toxic epidermal necrolysis, Stephen-Johnson syndrome. Occasionally, in some spectrum of various erythemas, we can find bulla. Okay. Now we are moving into next. Pustules. So what is pustules? Pustules are pus containing lesion where we can find definitely any insect bite we can find pustules. Chicken pox we can find pustules. Occasionally in herpetic lesions, some lesions may contain superimposed secondary bacterial infection can be converted into pustules. So this can happen. Next, scale. Scale. What is scale? Scale is hipped up horny epithelial lesion. So scale is a lesion which is palpable because there is hipped up epithelium. Hipped up horny epithelium that is present in scales. Where we can find psoriasis, we can find some scale. Some scaly lesion can also be found in the lichen. Okay. Then we are coming to hives. Hives or urticaria. So what is this? These are elevated, localized, eczematous, therefore pruritic, and erythematous. That means reddish. Okay. So in multiple areas we can find it can be to some allergen. It can be due to you can also find in case of angio edema. So various cases, various areas we can find these hives. Next, petechiae. So what are these? These are punctate small hemorrhagic focus. So hemorrhagic focus. This is small. That's very important. And one more important thing, they are non-blanchable. Remember, some closed DD is spider nevi, which is blanchable. This one is non-blanchable. Okay. And where we can find this, if petechial lesion is present, there's a chance that there is platelet abnormality. Okay, so various platelet abnormality can be thrombocythemia, maybe thrombocytopenia, or platelet adhesion defect. So various genetic causes, or in purpura, we can find petechial lesion. However, technically, there is a bigger sister of petechiae. So if the size of petechial lesion is high or more, then we term this purpura. So purpura is also a focal area of hemorrhage present in the skin, but it is larger than petechiae. So these are some areas initially, just before we start our class, we need to discuss because these are very important in your upcoming exam. From here,